Hi, you beautiful human. My name's Dr. Danny, and I love to learn and discover new things and sing songs and play games because I just think it's this really wonderful world we live in. And I want to share my friends with you. Would you like to meet one of them? Come on. Oh. This is Milton, the Macarena monkey. He's not usually shy, but maybe he is today. Why don't you come meet us soon and we'll sing some songs and play some games. Till then, bye. Come on.
Of Zoom this and virtual that, we see a search for trying different ways to engage and educate. Now, have we thought about puppets? Now, the Fuzzy World Puppet Company is dedicated to the fine art of entertainment through storytelling and improvisational audience. And these interactive elements, they bring the world together. We're very happy to be joined by Dr. Danielle Elliott, or Dr. Danny. She joins us to tell us more. How are you doing, ma'am?
I'm fine, thank you, DK. So glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Our pleasure. Now, you are a multimedia performing artist, and you actually just finished a production of The Revenge of King Jab Jab. So I'm wondering, what was that experience like for you in this time or life during COVID?
Oh, it was actually a really wonderful experience to be working with some of my favorite collaborators, including Louis Martin Lee Singh, who was the producer of the show, and with the great Ellen O'Malley Camps, who I'm proud to say I've received mentorship from, and who's just been wonderful in putting together this production and then staging it. I mean, the story from the beginning to its realization is long and storied itself, but it's felt wonderful to be able to be part of something that used carnival, used our culture, used Shakespeare, and that we could still put on safely during the whole COVID experience. It's been a joy.
And now, moving from that though, I want to ask about puppets. Why puppets and how come puppets? In terms of like, what some people say, okay, well, I'll leave that alone after Sesame Street finish. But at the same time, we just saw you and Milton and the Macarena monkey. So how,
That's right.
take me along those increments to that, thanks.
Oh, that's a great question. And it's so funny that you mentioned Sesame Street, because I feel like in some ways, all roads lead back to Sesame Street. I remember watching Sesame Street as a young child growing up in Trinidad, and thinking, I want to do that, but not being sure what that is. And I left the country after finishing high school and secondary school, and went to the US with my family, and my life took a completely different road. What I chose to study at university and graduate school was not puppetry. It was literature, and then I became a university English professor, which I've been for a few years. At some point, I decided to take one of those messages from Sesame Street to ask myself what I really, 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 really wanted to do when I grew up. And I took the leap of leaving my career and looking for forms of performance and art that seemed to fit naturally with my personality. And puppetry, I would say, kind of found me. And so I opened this company about 2013, and it's been a joy to return to Trinidad and to be able to, be a puppeteer and use that as one of the media I use to tell stories.
No, I like the fact that you describe yourself in some places as a recovering academic.
Totally.
Yeah, we're making you out. But looking at puppetry, if we were to kind of break apart some of those silos, what are some of the ways of being that you do now in terms of like puppetry, theater, could have been used a little more in possibly formative processes or methods of education, so that you wouldn't have to describe yourself as a recovering academic?
It's a great question. And I think in a way, essentially the power of puppetry is that it can enhance an experience. It has us be present, but in an interesting way, where we're present, but we're also, in an imaginative world. It kind of returns, even as adults, us to kind of a childhood space. And I think that there were places where I could incorporate things like that in my university classroom, and did, but in very, very small and interesting ways. But it's funny, you get to the end of a term and students have an evaluation and they're asked to talk about the class, the course in a whole. And the thing they mention is that one day when I brought in a puppet to make some point about Caribbean poetry or African American culture or something like that. I think that if we're imaginative about it, there are just endless ways in which to include puppetry.
No, I want to continue with this train of thought for a moment, in the sense that I have a friend who teaches literature currently, and she speaks about bringing things from the page to the stage, and there being this whole increase of complexity and depth with the same material that you're covering when you get people to engage with it that kind of way. Is that one of the things that you find with regard to the puppets? And people may have been saying, okay, well, one day Miss brought that puppet to explain this. What kind of feedback do they give you?
Well, I think so there's a couple of things in there in terms of the kind of feedback. I think a lot of the puppetry work that I did inside and even most of it outside of the classroom was very one-on-one, very not one-on-one. Sometimes I'm one-on-one, sometimes groups. And one of the things that I love is that the feedback is immediate. This is one of the things that's delightful about the theater too. There's a live audience in front of you and you're going to find out. If they found that funny, they're going to laugh. If they found it terrible, they're going to respond, right? And so the feedback is immediate when you have the opportunity to do it live. And it's usually, for me, it's fascinating that even adults will sometimes say, or adult learners even will sometimes say, I can't believe I'm talking to this puppet. I can't believe I'm telling this puppet this interesting thing. Or I'll make a point as the puppet, and they'll say, that's really something I have to consider. I can't believe I'm getting this information from a monkey or a crocodile or something. But the places where the page comes to the stage, or in my case, a lot these days, the moment of imagination comes alive, is just the most delightful thing, even for me as a puppeteer. But it's also to see somebody else's delight at the same time as they're learning something or they're realizing something about themselves. It's like this rich space.
And you realize we've been talking about how you used to use puppets, but when we continue, we want to talk about how you currently use puppets and the role of the company and the work that you're doing. But people need to stay tuned for that. We're speaking with Dr. Danny of the Fuzzy World Puppet Company. We return to the conversation after this. Stay with me. Welcome back. We are speaking with Dr. Danielle Elliott of the Fuzzy World Puppet Company. And we got a nice little backstory, but tell me, in terms of the company, what do you do? How do you use puppets? Asking for an overview of the company, thanks.
Okay. Well, I sometimes say I'm a puppet wrangler, that the company's run by the puppets and I just work for them. But what we're mostly doing with the company at the moment is using this innovative way of having puppets have a almost theatrical kind of imaginative moment where there's an interaction between a human being, whether it's a child or an adult, and puppet, to really deliver messages, so it's a message delivery format. I'd say that's the main thing that I do. So whether that's to deliver a message to a live audience, because there have been times where I've spoken to live audiences, but these days we have fewer live audiences, post COVID-19. But it's now been a really great tool and way for us to deliver messages for all kinds of clients, whether that's through educative means. So I've had primary schools as well as preschools, in some cases secondary school, ask for a puppet to have an interaction with a teacher. I did a lovely one for a Holy Name Convent where terrific teacher, Miss Hicks, asked us to speak with her and have the puppet interact with her and have them address the assembly. I've had working with a couple of artists who asked me to come in and talk with them about their art. And so we have these lovely little clips of the puppet interacting with the artist to tell the story of that art, or particular piece or medium. Same thing with a couple of interactions I've had recently. These projects I'm so excited about are where we've had a holistic life coach and spiritual teacher who really did this lovely conversation and interview with one of the puppets to give a message that she wanted to share about Valentine's Day on her social media. So that's the kind of thing. It's really message delivery in a completely innovative way, whether that message is to students or clients or to other kinds of audiences.
And that begs the question, though, is there something that limits the audience that you would address or that you would target? Because I see one with a pig talking about beauty. I see one with the giraffe, and that was a wine message, I think. So take me through the process of saying, okay, well, I have something or I have a message that I want to share, and I have the target audience. How do I contact you and turn that message into something that is implemented?
Okay. Well, first of all, to contact us, the best place to reach us is our Facebook page at Fuzzy World Puppet Co. And from there, you can get in touch with me. You can either message or find our email and phone number. All the information is at that Facebook page. With someone having a message and an idea in mind, they give me a call, and then we start to really brainstorm. Usually, I'm listening for a really kind of funny, interesting hook or a way to shape the idea. The wine message was another thing we do, which is a personal greetings. So that was a friend wanting to send a particularly interesting kind of live video or video message to her friend for her birthday. So it's just listening and conversation. What do they have in common? What are these two people like? What might this person find funny? Then I choose the puppet and tell the story. But I love what you asked about the audiences, right? So when the audience is a younger audience, I have, puppet and language and movement and et cetera, and scenes that are tailored to younger audiences. But I found that adults love and are inspired by puppetry just as well. So I do keep a couple of the puppets who are, I would say, more appropriate for a little bit more adult content, still family friendly, just more focused on grown-ups.
And with regard to having your puppets, because you say you have different puppets that you use for different things, is one of the things that people would liaise with you saying, okay, well, I want a puppet to look like this. Do you craft puppets for situations? Or do you say, okay, well, I think I'm going to use the giraffe for this one. I think I'm going to use the pig for this one.
Mm-hmm. I think it's not so much the crafting of the puppet. I have this small zoo of puppets. And the reason I've called the company Fuzzy World is because they're puppets from different parts of the world. And in my particular company, I've chosen to have it be all animal puppets. I can tell you a little bit about that in a second if you're curious, but I mostly then trying to fit the puppet to the situation. So they each have personalities and a kind of a backstory. The one that you saw about the pig, that's Princess Pig, who really is all about beauty and self-appreciation and self-love. So she was perfect for that particular project. Whereas Milton the monkey is kind of like this crazy swinging monkey who's just kind of game for everything, very easily distracted, and occasionally shy. So I just kind of adjust for what the message is. And the joy, frankly, or part of the joy is in crafting the message with the client. So that ends up being a really fun experience too, for me and for them.
And we're going back to why just animals, because one of the things that I'm thinking off the bat is that if we try to have persons, or if you try to have persons, the way that you would have a backstory, some people may attach a backstory to that person, whether or not how light the skin is, what the hair looks like. Is that part of the reason you have animals?
You're absolutely right. That's absolutely it. No matter, it's just human nature. we see a thing and we project attributes onto it. And you see a person in a tie, and suit, or with a baseball cap on, and we've already made a projection, a judgment. When you see a monkey, it could go a couple of ways. When you see a crocodile, it could go a couple of ways. So I really like the idea that there's a sense of surprise, which helps with the drama of it. And so you're not sure what to expect. And in that space of uncertainty, we can then use your imagination to create the whole world. So, but you're spot on. That's exactly why I've chosen all animals. I think there's something too about the way animals disarm people, some of them anyway, and the puppets essentially do the same thing. They have you relax, chill out a little bit, and in that space, of imagination, that's a really fertile space for telling a story.
Yeah, that idea of suspended belief was okay. Well,
Yes.
I can take on this person. Yeah, okay, I can take on this animal. But
Yes.
but you call yourself a puppet wrangler in that zoo of puppets. Are there other wranglers with you? Is this a one-woman show? What is that scope like?
Well, I would say I'm definitely the main wrangler. And then project by project, I have a lot of help and support. Like I recently had up on my Facebook page, Puppeteers Wanted, because I needed, and still I'm looking for, so if there are any puppeteers out there, you should definitely contact me through the Facebook page. But I needed a few more hands for a project. And I have, for example, another project that we are so excited about. This one's going to be children focused and a little bit more about educational and emotional intelligence. And yeah, I'll need more than these two hands. So then I bring in puppeteers rather. The puppets like to say that they are responsible and they do the job themselves. But between you and I, yeah, I'm doing most of the work.
No, is it a matter of saying, okay, well, this person has some skill, but I need to bring them up a little bit, build capacity? Is it that someone that just has the love and they're hoping to learn? Is that part of what it is you do?
What I'm particularly looking for is someone who has, ideally, of course, if they've had a lot of experience and they've maybe played, maybe worked, maybe through studies, have worked with puppets, maybe in their theater classes, etc. Maybe they do voices. That's terrific. So that's a kind of ideal. But at best, I'm also looking for somebody who's really the ideal, if you haven't had a lot of experience with puppets, is to be a really good listener and a good improviser. If you're a good improviser, you can kind of live in the moment and listen for where dialogue might be going and insert something, or simply react in a particular way. I think that's a big part of the experience too. So having the puppets react. So if this were a conversation, let's say between you and I right now, and a puppet were to enter, and to just kind of quietly be there, we'd still need, we might not be actually, interacting, talking at the moment, but it'd be good to respond to in some kinds of ways to what's happening. And I've this is actually my interview. Yeah, you're not, that's kind of rude. This is my interview and you're interrupting. Okay, sorry about that.
No, Milton
Yeah.
appearing there freaked me out for a moment. I kid you not. But on that note, thank you very much, Dr. Danny. Thank you, Milton,
my
for your
gosh.
cameo. Or as some people in
My
Jamaica say, he
pleasure.
make a future as opposed to a feature appearance. And thank you for the work that you do. And we hope to follow up on this a little more with regard to the Fuzzy
absolutely.
World Puppet Company. So
Yes, we have so much good stuff that's coming, so stay tuned. It'd be wonderful to share about it in the near future.
definitely. And on behalf of the entire news team, we want to thank you for tuning in. I'm DK Roster. Have a good night.